just in a minute we set it up, then we can now go. So hello and welcome to Conversations with Esther. Today, 11th September 2024. I know we've been on some break because of the conference, but we are right back. Welcome, everyone. I want us to pray and then we can kick off. Kindly, let's pray. Father, we thank you for this session. Thank you, Lord, as we kick off this learning session with Damaris. We pray that you will give us understanding and that you will give her wisdom as she builds our capacity. We thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Maybe for those that are just possibly joining us for the first time, allow me to just put this up so that we get a brief of Conversations with Esther. I hope you can see this. So I just want to do an intro of Conversations with Esther. For those that are joining us for the very first time. Now, Conversations with Esther is an impact-driven professional platform that informs, educates, and rebuilds mindsets. Our main goal is to rebuild your mindset in different areas. We ignite ethical and authentic leadership, promoting best practice within industries. Now, Conversations with Esther equips the workplace with relevant legal, HR, and holistic wellness skills while supporting employers in attracting, developing, motivating, and retaining productive talent. Now, we are guided by 3 values: integrity, excellence, and impact. We envision a workplace transformed by candid conversations, respectable relationships, and intentional leadership. Now, this whole year, we've been on the holistic wellness program, and the theme, we have gone through this. I know some of you have been with us in the journey of the physical, mental, financial, social, spiritual, environmental, intellectual wellness. And this is still part of it. We finished the 7 months of a wellness journey, and we will be having a celebration of this very soon. So I want to thank you all for the conference, Aligning Organizational Culture with Strategy. We have Damaris was one of our speakers. Thank you very much, Damaris. I have seen a lot of people that attended, the Jocelyn, Rosemary, and many others. To all our attendees, sponsors, and speakers for making the conference a success. Your insights and engagement have been invaluable, and we appreciate your dedication to advancing this important dialogue. Together, we are shaping the future of organizational excellence. Thank you for attending. Thank you for supporting. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, you can reach us on our YouTube is Conversations with Esther Katiba. You're able to access this session and many other sessions that we've done on capacity building. We've done a lot of mental health conversations. So you can check our YouTube and learn from there. And you can share this as well with your colleagues at work and including your family members, because there are so many lessons that you learn. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Esther Katiba, Instagram, Conversations with Esther, and you feel free to drop us an email at info@conversationswithesther.org. Now, today's session, just to go straight, the role of organizational development in shaping successful businesses. We have the very best. I couldn't think of a better guest in this topic. So Damaris Dungwa is a Director, Organizational Development and Culture Transformation at Blue Concepts Africa. So she is our speaker for tonight. I am here to learn as well. And I think that's the way it should be. We should all be willing and ready to learn. Now, in today's business environment, the importance of organizational development is indisputable. Organizational development serves as a strategic tool that helps drive organizations' efficiency, productivity, and resilience. A company that embraces organizational development fosters innovation efficiently, adapts the changing market conditions while enhancing employee engagement. So allow me to welcome the very best, Damaris Dungo, who will take us through this session for the next 30 to 40 minutes. Damaris, the floor is yours. And I know at the end, she will be telling us about the upcoming conference. Damaris, the floor is yours. Karibu sana.
All right. Thank you very much, Esther. It's a pleasure to actually be in conversations with Esther. I was looking forward for the fire. Where is the fire?
It's right here.
The fire. Yes, I'm trying to light mine where I am, but
Pick
I
your
guess
coffee.
everybody,
Yes, and get
everybody
to the
will feel warm, right?
Absolutely.
So thanks for the invitation to be here tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to see you all here. I was just listening to Esther and I felt like she completely understands what the topic for today is like. So, hey, where are you logging in from? I was just rushing on the road, just catch up for this webinar. So I just arrived home. I don't know where you are. Are you in a matatu? Where are you? Probably we can start by just knowing where you are so it can be easy on you as you engage moving forward. Use the chat. Let me know where you are. Then I will update the rest about where you are. But thank you very much, Esther. I think the topic of today is a very interesting, I would say, conversation that I find going on and on, especially recently. I don't know who recently have had an engagement about organization development. Yes, we have Martin saying, yeah, you're home. I see you're home, like my home office. Great, Martin, to know your home office. This one we write very well. And Robert is also home. Wow, looks like guys really home office as well. Rebecca, good to know that, Rebecca. And how are you? Good to see you here as well. So I'm going to make this a bit very engaging. I'm usually not a very good lecture. I use engagement as a way of just getting the best of experience in the session. So you'll allow us to engage. So we bring our experiences on board. So I'll be sharing some slides. You're on the road, Purity. Yes, I hope you're not driving though, because we will ensure that you just listen, nothing more on the video, but we hope you get home soon. Great to know where you are. So I will share some slides as we move on. Good, Stella, you're home. Most people are actually home, just like me. So the topic we are going to dive about, go around, explore a bit, see what we know about it is organization development. And where it connects, why is it important in the first place? Where do we need to place it when it comes to the organization? What is its relevance in driving bottom lines and top lines? Because that's all about business. And then we will, of course, see what experience people bring here on board. But let me ask you, ladies and gentlemen, when you think of or talk about organization development, what do you say? What comes in mind? What do you hear people say what organization development is? Besides what Esther has said as I pull my presentation up. Let me hear from you guys. What do you think organization development is all about? You can use the chat. Feel free, by the way, to use the mic as well. Jocelyn Wafula. What comes into mind when you hear organization development? You know, OD people are like teachers. They keep on asking questions, so get ready. Jocelyn, are you there?
Hi, Damaris.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. Sorry, I think I logged in and got into another call.
No worry, no worry. We're just starting.
Okay.
You want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Yes, tell us. So what insights do you have? What do you think OD is? Or what do you hear people say OD is? Organization development is.
For me, I think it's something that an organization does to build capacity within the resources available in that organization.
Awesome, awesome. What organization does to build capacity within the organization? You're not very far off. In fact, we need to give you some emojis. Thanks very much for that trial. Any other person? Teresia, you're there? I can see some comments coming down very fast. Systems, thinking, use of self-appreciative inquiry, co-creation. I love that, Martin, co-creation. Robert thinks is employees in terms of, is developing the employees in terms of their skills. And you're not very far off. You know, the reason I'm asking this question is that people think organizational development quite something very unique out there. But when you pull them into the process of organizational development, they're like, hey, I've been doing this for my experience in 12 years in HR, you know, all those kind of conversations. Then you wonder, did you think it's something different? I think Esther said it very well, and we relate in practical things in the workplace, because I'm sure people are in the workplace who have joined this call. And if you're not in workplace, probably you're doing something in your platform that is business oriented. Organization development. I'm not going to define myself because I really assumed that you guys got it from Esther. My name is Damaris Dungwa. I'm an OD professional. I think I've been in this space for over 14 plus years. My background, of course, started from human resource management. Another assumption, as you'll see, where HR, OD, equal happy separation lines there. But I've got some experience in HR for years, but I sort of went into organizational development and learning for a long time. And this is it. This is my space. Like Esther keeps on saying, it's my playground every day. And we'll see what that entails as we move on. So we were just exploring on the definition and how we understand organizational development. So I will use the chat. I will ask you questions as we move on, but the agenda of this session, as we flow, you'll see we'll tend to understand, have a kind of definition of organization development and why it's important in the first place. Nobody wants to waste their time in things that are not important, especially in helping them meet their goals. Then we'll explore a bit the concepts that are in organization development, because it's just not any other process or strategy. It is very intentional, as you will see. It's very objective in approach. And yes, there is, of course, evolution. Than what OD is today is not what OD used to be. And then we'll talk a bit about what are the structures, what are the strategies in place that actually we can practically apply in our work spaces or places to be able to drive whatever OD initiative we have. And then where is the link between OD and business? And that's what I'll take my about 30 minutes in. I would define org not far from what Sakayo said, Robert, Martin, and also our colleague here. But I'm sure, and maybe you guys can tell me, how many people have ever been in let me say, in any change management initiative in the workplace? Just answer with a yes or no. Anything change, restructuring, or it could be org-wide change, it could be anything. What did you go through any change? Yes or no? Let me know. through the chat. You can also use the mic. I told you I'm going to be asking questions. Have you gone through any change in your organization, or have you led any change? Yes, change as a result of merger, that's a deep one. That, in fact, is an OD initiative. It is also about how an organization changes, yes, their way of doing things. Thanks very much, Rebecca. I think that was about defining OD, how an organization comes up with processes, systems, and to achieve their set targets and strategic. That's quite OD and org design. Very fantastic. So for those who've gone through change or even any development process, for whether it's staff, whether it's for system, or you just reviewing your processes, or you're reviewing now that I've seen many HRs professionals here, your manuals, all that process, it flows within a structure. And that structure is marked by specific steps for some specific reasons and outcomes, if it is done effectively or well. And that is, as you will see, is an org process, organization development process. So in a nutshell, what I want you to understand when it comes to defining organization development, not really the big terms, but it is any objective, very intentional, it's very also research-based, it's fact-based process that is geared towards driving two things within any institution, any team, or any business. And first is effectiveness and efficiency. Effectiveness is in the sense that you want to know whether the process that we use to deliver, for example, to our client is actually effective. It's meeting the needs that the client is out looking for. Is the orientation or onboarding process that we use effective in terms that we are getting the results with the people we are onboarding as we anticipate. Efficiency is that it's going to deliver that within specific thresholds of resources, time, and all that. So those two is what actually enables what we call sustainability in performance or organization compliance and performance. The reason I emphasize this more one, because I like going more in terms of just simplifying things, is that we know the biggest objective for setting organization is one. Why do people, when they start businesses? Why do organizations get established? And it's just for one fundamental reason, that they want to bring returns. They want to bring returns maybe to the shareholders or founders of that organization. We want performance, that we actually meet our objective goals. That sense, next, the definition of the why. So there is a success tag up there where we have the foundation in terms of structure. For us to get to that success, therefore, we have to be doing some things in a certain manner. So I put a definition here. I was just simplifying it. It's a few just focus on driving organization effectiveness and efficiency. And there are many ways, as you see, these ones I've listed here are not exhaustive, because they can be many depending on context and the organization itself. It could be behavioral, kind of transformation you want to achieve within your staff, attitude, mindset, kind of certain competence you want to build. Or probably you want certain behaviors to be executed by your team. It could also be, kind of being able to abide in a certain structure or process or policy you've established. So you want people to comply to what that structure or process says, and therefore you have to go through a certain process to bring people to that state. So that's the people aspect. So this thing I'm saying, it's factual. It's kind of it uses fact. You have to find and be able to analyze it, and uses a lot of behavioral science principles and research. That's what I was saying. And when it comes to organization, it's very critical, because all that kind of OD process is to be able to drive the objective of the organization that helps it meet the success it requires. So strategy becomes very critical in organization development. So I think I've mentioned 3 things that you just can choose to remember in OD. There is the people, there's the processes, there is their strategy. That's a very critical, and the culture. Okay, and we'll talk about that a little bit right now. So I hope you got an idea of, but I'll simplify it because I like analogies. I'll use another analogy right now. So why do we need OD anyway? And when you think, I mean, when I was doing organization development, study in my master's, we of course had different concepts why OD is important. Some are still valid even today. But something that has emerged in the last 5 years or so is the speed at which things are changing in organizations. I don't know what has changed in your organization in the last 2 or 3 months. Yeah, because I think things just seems to be changing. It's about technology. It's about what are some of the things that you found in the last 1 or 2 months in your organization that have just changed all of a sudden? Nini may change in your organization. Let me see here. Has anything changed in the last 1 month or 2 in your organization? Or in your team? Change of structure. Okay. Okay. What else? Working from home, remote working, but in the last 6 months. Yes, that wasn't there in the last 6 months. And you see, Nimewasili, how I can see you. Now, you see something like that was in the moving offices, is still a change, restructuring. You see, such things are happening at a very, very fast, very fast. It's very, every day is like there's something happening. So this dynamism of change makes also us to understand all the initiatives and the approach we use in being able to meet effectiveness and efficiency in these organization development initiatives, also evolving as well. So you see, therefore it means us to be able to meet the top lines and bottom lines, the people and align strategy, OD has to be evolving as well. So what I'm trying to say is there is evolution in organizational development. And its relevance is becoming very, very pronounced lately because people are using and looking for ways to be able to develop a kind of asset in terms of human resource that is ready, agile, flexible, ready to move kind of perception. It's not like the way we used to look at change. We used to think change has to take all this time frame of 2 to 3 years if it's all right, to a certain seamless kind of dynamism where we anticipate it. And therefore, when we go into any change that we anticipate, we kind of move very swiftly because we expect it. And we expect even another one before that happens. And this that brings a lot of relevance to OD today because the process of OD is kind of very flexible, and it's built to make sure institutions are agile and very ready to embrace change all the time because of the nature of OD itself. And I'll show you the strategy OD uses over time to be able to start somewhere in diagnosing, investigating, coming in solution when anything shifts within the organization. So that is organization development. It's not very different when you think, because I'm sure the initiatives you've actually done that are very organization development per se, but probably we don't know. So organizations are increasingly challenged by change, restructuring, moving offices, wellness policies and many other things are coming on board. Legislative changes, like in Kenya, there have been so many in one set of half a year. And all those things require, will necessitate a way of communicating them, a way of, structuring them into the organization and implementing them. And that's a whole process that needs to be thought through, starting somewhere, implementing and assessing. And there's nothing different because that's what OD is all about. And therefore, the world is very fast-paced nowadays. And of course, those people who are in profit making, you'll agree competition is also rising very fast with all the technology and many other things emerging, globalization and, shift in employees' preferences and needs. And all these things, therefore, necessitate us, because change is not going to stop. In fact, it's predicted that it will going to increase every day, and many things will shift with now the AI in the space. So OD therefore becomes very critical, not the way we used to plan for our annual staff or strategy, or maybe structural plans are January and just think we'll roll them and tick the boxes. By the time you get to Feb, you realize things are very different and you're supposed to adjust your plans to suit the new direction and all that. And that requires certain competency in organization development in terms of structuring, and so you get the right results. So OD is critical because, first of all, we've seen is increasing space of change, and of course the necessitated agility in being able to sustain that change. And therefore, you can easily say the biggest goal I always have when I'm doing any initiative in organization development, which includes a lot of things like we will list here: change management, culture, organization design, building teams, as org health assessment and all that, is to be able to facilitate an org-wide change that definitely reflects in bottom line and top lines. I keep on saying this too because it is relevant for any business to succeed. Without those top lines, bottom lines, you ain't talking about any success in business. And therefore, it brings in interventions that are very process objective based and targets, different segments of the organization. Sometimes it's org-wide, like when you talk about culture, when you talk about org design, when you talk about system reviews and process evaluations, or even evaluating level of wellness within your organization, for example, very key for Edgar. All those are initiatives that are very objectives are very many depending on what outcomes you're looking for. But I just listed some common ones here because the idea of putting any initiative, for example, if you want to train your staff on customer excellence or customer delight, for example, and you want to have certain specific outcomes, where do you start? Of course, it's by defining the big picture. That is what you want to see. So that big picture is always tagged to the success of maybe strategy or the big goal of the organization. Ideally, drive that effectiveness and efficiency that is required within your department, your portfolio, or unit. OD also, it's a process through which people are able to facilitate and adapt to change. Because within the process and strategy, as we'll see in some few slides down here, you'll see there is kind of inquiry, being able to communicate, being able to do all that. So that process allows people to see the change, understand it, and all that. So it makes it easily to adapt. So objective key of OD is being able to drive people to adapt to change. Enhance employee engagement, very critical. It's linked to also continuous learning because of the agility that comes in the OD initiative. Develop leadership, very critical, by the way, without enabled, empowered leadership to drive the OD that has bought into the OD initiative or has bought with the change initiative itself. You could be doing, by the way. And then fostering collaboration, communication, which is the whole climate, as you see. So the objectives can be really many. But I wanted to put this one very fast for you. And this is in theory, when you look at organization development, what exactly are we looking for when we just spotlight an organization or your business at once? There are three elements that you can quickly just investigate or look at in understanding the theory of organization development, or what constitutes, in a nutshell, within a very short, kind of classification, organization development. And number one is what we call the organization climate. It is very critical, as I will tell you in a few. Org culture is another one, and the org strategy. Okay, when you look at all those three, there is an element behind it called the people. Yeah, because these do not exist without the people. And that's why, by the way, I think there's this assumption or fallacy that HR is always in the picture when it comes to this change. Is it true always? I don't know, but we'll have a discourse at some point. So what is org climate? Just for quick review for those who want to understand it, and what's the difference between it and culture. When you go into your organization, there is sometimes you just come in, and I can actually challenge or ask those who just went into an organization employed there. Within the first week or 2 weeks, you're able to feel a certain vibe of this organization. Yeah, it's like you met somebody and you engaged them within in a cocktail or a dinner. Then you quickly can pick some people you can connect and converse very fast. Others are a little bit intense. That is like understanding of climate. It's a mood, it's a personality of the organization when you enter or you interact within. So you can say it includes some features, characteristics that are very associated with some key metrics that we commonly use in HR. You will feel fear. You will feel welcome, depending on whichever organization you went into. You will see leadership concern, for example, or serious focus on service and quality, whatever it is. But you just felt here, you can't miss it. You just have to cross the T's and dot the I's here because of the meticulousness in which. So that kind of feeling or personality is now the climate. It's called the org climate. And this you can quickly just assess by just taking metrics. I mean, assessing these metrics I've measured here and many, many more. Okay. The other part that defines a lot on OD and its effect on business success is the culture. And this is a big one. This one is a big one because it is, I always liken it to, it's like you build you have a building, it has a structure, the way you put structures, like the way Chinese do the roads. And the structure, for it to come to life and see the beauties, there are elements that have come on board and be fixed in it. That includes the bricks, the walls, the paint, the anything that comes in it to make it a house. And that kind of thing that brings the house to life is the culture of an institution. So these colors have to blend, this cement has to blend very well with the water and all that for that structure to actually be solid and long lasting and sustainable. What am I talking about when I mean blending here? So when this, in a nutshell, I'm sure probably culture definitions, but for me, I think it's the shared common values, common assumptions, habits that just happens when you are in there. They are acceptable somehow, whether it's written or unwritten. Okay, so this has a strong implication on many things. You go into an organization, it's Friday, you came from maybe Safaricom, or you came from an FMG. Friday was addressed down in this organization. All of a sudden, you go in there. Nobody told you, but everybody's in a suit. What do you do the next Friday? That is culture. So these things make us to do or push us to do things in a certain way. And that way we do things either can drive business success, organization success, or success of our outfit or not. Because if we are not aligned, for example, or not living within values that are giving us the right behaviors, for example, because how do you tell someone is an honest person? They have to behave in a certain way. So behaviors suddenly become very critical because that's what we can observe. I know that from HR. You're very good at that. Therefore, when we are able to look in this kind of aspect and elements, that is how and this spirit that drives us to do things in a certain way, because they dictate or they order us to do that way, then culture suddenly becomes very critical. And culture is a very fundamental element in organization. And the last, another list that I'm going to talk about is, I think I've mentioned all this. Incidentally, they are artifacts. Artifacts are like very physical, visual things, or even jargons of organizations. Like, I'm told one of the jargons, what is a typically Kenyan jargon, by the way? If you moved out of Kenya, go to Burundi and say that, people never understand it, but it's a Kenyan thing. What is something that is commonly identifiable with Kenyans? Jargon ya Kenyans. Me, I really like this webinar. Yes, that's Kenyan Kizungu. Yes, it's a time I went to somewhere in Europe and I kept on talking and saying, when you finish talking, you know the way you say, "Are we together?" Yes, and people would wonder. Actually, you will see it on faces. Are you together? How do you mean? And then you realize that's actually a Kenyan English. Angu kanai, I like that. Ni God, maze ni God. Ni God. Yes, I like that, Martin. That one is very cool. Especially when you succeed and you know all these long explanations, you just have to, ni God. Hakuna Matata, yes, that's actually a Kenyan. But also I found it in Tanzania as well. There are many things that are particularly unique about Kenyans, yes. Even the way we express ourselves, we are also very aggressive in defending a lot of things. That's not me, it's people out there saying. Artifacts are actually things that are very particular your organization and can mean something different even out of your organization. It could be something visual that is placed somewhere and you attribute it to some meaning. I go to some offices or boardrooms, there is actually some sculptures of who was who when, and it's very important for that organization. There are also mottos or taglines, those are artifacts. Some people have products that are very synonymous to their name or things like that. So they form part of their actually culture. But I've mentioned about that. And what I was trying to drive is culture is, another fundamental element of organizational development. And it's critical. It is fundamentally critical for it to be able to be enabling. The word enabling can be very big in terms of building a great culture, because it has to unlock the people needs, people goals, empower the people and build capacity for the people, be able to build systems, processes, and procedures, including policies that are actually working for the people and for the strategy of the organization. It is a whole, discipline when I say enabling. And all this is critical. But let me just bring another element that is also very critical when you talk about organization development to any success of organization, whether it's NGO or it is business. The strategy. And I began by saying the idea of having organization in the first place is for them to experience a certain success that they're looking for. We put it in many formats, vision or mission or whatever it is that you want to achieve. But the bottom line is there has to be some returns to the people who actually put this organization out, or the reason they put it. And strategy is one of the, very structured, stepwise actions, that we commit to do for us to get to those kind of objectives of God. So it becomes very critical. Because now, without that plan, probably we don't know where we are heading and whether we are hitting the right, direction and returns that we want for yourself or for your organization or for your team. Therefore, it becomes very critical. And you begin now to see why, as you talk about strategy is very easy to actually consume in organization because it's one of the highly championed initiatives by leadership. I don't know where this fallacy came from, but any team and organization, and you ask them, do you have a plan? Yeah, there's always a plan. Okay. But now when you come to how of delivering the plan is where the issues now start, looking a little bit different. And I think I've talked a bit about the org climate and the culture, which most times will either make sure you actually deliver on these plans you have, we call them strategic plans, or whether it is performance contracting plans, or it is just your business plan. Because the way you deliver brings in other many elements on board. And those many elements, the way they align, empowered and ready to deliver, has a huge impact. In fact, has every impact for you to get that goal. Whether you are a supervisor trying to pursue certain KPIs or goals with your team, it's one thing to have that goal and KPI very well written, smart on paper, but it is something different also to deliver it with your team, okay? And I think that's the most difficult area for any person in leadership or any person trying to work with some people, because you realize these guys, they'll say they're demotivated. You really have to think about initiatives on how to motivate them. You need to really look about strategies on how to sustain their motivation. You will feel they lack certain capacity to be able to do the roles you've given them. So you need to develop them and train them. So this training that make let me know whether you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. You're back now.
Yes, thank you very much. Therefore, it becomes very important to think strategy, because that's where we are heading. And therefore, we will know, for us to get here, what do we need, okay? And one of the things is us to have a working culture. The whole climate has to be right. Our people, because I say people is a common, most dynamic element of success in this equation of business organizing success, whether it is in driving OD, driving change, or anything else, or just achieving strategy. People are the most dynamic and important critical element. I don't need to put it here as particular, but it is actually a prosthetic key asset for this process. So all this is becomes therefore critical for strategy. We cannot have a successful OD that doesn't deliver to the big success or strategy of plan, or whichever outfit, organization, or business. So it is very critical, because kind of forms the foundation where we are heading to, and the rest brings in the pillars that just supports this success we're talking about, and that is all the culture and all the climate, the structure and processes and all that. I'll put a bit of diagnostic improvement steps used for OD, but just allow me, because I'll get in more structural a bit here. So I wanted to use this. What can you see on the screen? Sorry. What's on the screen, if you can see it? I don't know why it's moving. Can you see a picture in the screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. It's a tree. So when you look all the story that I've been talking about, I just want to use this kind of a tree to expound a bit on something. When you look at this tree, how many parts can you see? The specific parts. You can use the mic to tell me. Hello, you can shout through the mic. Anyone?
Roots.
Say that again.
You can see the roots.
The roots.
Yes, they're the roots. In fact, they're very structured in this picture of mine. Yes, fantastic. What else can you see?
See the fruits.
The fruit.
Leaves.
They are the leaves, they are the fruits, yes, the red. I don't know how you guys are not seeing the fruits. The way I can see them. There is also the stem. There are some branches right there. And I just put this one here to simplify all the story that I've been talking about before I move in now to where OD links to business success. Now, assume when you look at this tree, just assume that it's a representation of an organization or your business that you work for or you have. When you look at the roots, I put that structure because it would symbolize for me the things that are critical to make us succeed. And I think I mentioned that org climate, org culture, and all the strategy right there. But I'll put the values and at the foundation, that is the core values, and the foundation as the foundation before you get to the stem right there. Because if you get the values right, then you get the behaviors right, and you get the right behaviors, then you are likely going to get the right actions happening. When you have right actions happening, you always are getting the right results. That means you are succeeding in terms of business. Okay, so it becomes very critical to have a very robust structure, solid at the root. Okay, because the rest will be effortless. You'll be able to see the fruits thrive. So the dynamism in which we are engaging our teams, our people, our processes, how we are implementing them in a fair manner, in a more transparent manner, being clear in communication, being able to develop our people across these things, being able to even support and prepare our teams for change, communicate the change, engage them, but include them in the process even, and being able to get feedback. I mean, all that kind of a process, which are critical elements in organization development initiatives, helps us build a good org climate where people are engaged, they are motivated, they are happy to come to work, they are happy to catch up with their friends, even if they are working from home. They just a good vibe in them. They are keen on their goals. That means they are delivering on what is expected, and they are getting rewarded for it. All that is happening. Therefore, we are meeting and we are succeeding. So the trunk would probably bring the element of structure and systems, because that's how we deliver the people contribution to the outcome or the success or the strategy. So the trunk, I use it, the trunk is this part here before we get to the branches. And the branches, because organizations have different functions. We have IT, we have HR, we have what departments do you have in your institution? So we have different teams that are delivering specific things, but always are feeding into the bigger vision we have as an organization or as a big team. So this is the role of branches. And as unique as we are in branches, we are also, common, we have this common spirit or interdependence that has to drive us together as an organization. Because if a branch said, today I want mapera, today I'm not going to feel like doing this kind of a fruit, we ain't going to have this amount of tonnage that we need. So there is also a role of OD in trying to drive interdependence and synergy within teams, be able to deliver all uniquely, but all to the same vision. So branches is what I use to define the relevance of the different org roles that we have, because the org structure has different functions. And the essence of a structure is to be able to deliver for the big success of the business. So that would be the branches or the departments or the different teams, if you like. So where does organization development come in? If you look at this analogy of a tree as an organization. So I use the organization development expert or officer you have, or the lead team you are, as a gardener, for example, because a tree or plant would need a gardener to tend to it. So this gardener will represent the role of the OD person or team or whatever you call it in your organization, or even yourself. So nurturing this tree then would make a whole lot of difference. You can imagine you have all this robust kind of structure. You put all the plan out there. You even went for a retreat in Naivasha for 3 weeks to make the plan very sharp. But something is missing. We actually forgot to kind of put a reward recognition process and actually actualize it, for example. It's like you just planted a very nice tree and you forgot to put water for a week. Okay, so what happens with this organization? You will start to seeing gaps, and we'll see what actually signs. You begin to see such organizations cracking or teams up. So the role of the OD, you begin to see it very critical, because nurturing the tree with the right conditions for growth is critical. And this could be sunlight, it's like leadership. Water could be training and development. kind of pruning around here could actually mean change management, could be actually restructuring roles for them to respond well as per the skills they have. And those are initiatives OD driven that actually aligns all of us back to the success of, fruition of this trip. I think roots, we've completely understood that because forms a foundation, and that's a culture and all climate. And then regular pruning, of course, because organizations are changing, like we say, because improvement is needed every time. And of course, removing outdated practices also is part of it, so we foster kind of agility and adaptability so that we can match it. And all that in a nutshell. Please remember the tree when you think about OD, the role of the OD in making sure this actually plant something. I hope that was simple. If you have understood, give me a thumbs up. All right. I can see some account supply chain management. Good. This our department is grass and cell. That's what you were saying. Fantastic. So that's it in a nutshell, OD. And how it links to even business and success of any organization. Now, before I came here, I wanted to just demonstrate, therefore, if you were to prune very well or to be a very good gardener, in this sense of an OD, not just pruning per se, you will need to have a certain set of skills and competencies to be able to do it very well. Because something very unique about organization development processes and approaches is a little bit different from how we do, like recruitment process, because of the nature that it involves a certain element of change. And for us to change, there are critical elements that you need to answer. And number one is, why are you changing in the first place? You must be able to answer that question, the why of change. And for you to answer the why of change includes inquiries, audits, investigations for us to be able to identify why we are changing. And that right there brings in what I call the factual or research-oriented approach to organization development. There's a lot of organizational psychology that is involved into organization development processes and initiatives. So when you look at an ideal common organizational development strategy, it will not go below 4 or 5 stages because I said it follows a certain systematic process for it to drive change, to be able to build efficacy for change, implement, evaluate, and drive efficiency and effectiveness. So this, I'm sure, doesn't sound very different for most of you probably done it, but every initiative requires to answer that why first. And this is something that I found many initiatives lack. People just feel hunch. Yeah, we need actually a team building. Or we actually think, we need actually a customer service training. That kind of a thing is very easy. Or we need to shift the way we onboard. We need to review. That kind of thing. The gap has to be actually backed by data and information, that it's a valid gap that exists. So when you actually go back and start practicing and implementing these initiatives, first of all, it must be factual. If someone at the executive team or the board asks that question, it must be something that can be answered using data within your context. That is your team or your organization or your department. Okay, so at the entry level, you explore the problem. Sometimes you sense problems from different things, maybe performance appraisal. You've seen a tendency of people doing certain things that is not actually acceptable consistently. Then you think we need to actually look into this. You just don't say we need to do a performance management training. You need to actually investigate what the problem is. The issue could actually not be incompetence in, understanding all the process of performance management, but it could be something to do with extremely different. I was working with an organization last year where there was low productivity, per se, from the conversation I had in the board. And therefore, of course, my OD process, when you go in, we investigate what exactly is happening in terms of employee engagement, satisfaction, culture outlook, leadership relationship, communication, and all that. And we realized that because the institution has some stakeholders who are very, I would say, strong, and they have such a strong grip to the institution way of doing things. Because thing to also do with the HR and the departmental heads are cascading, but it was actually the pressure and the bad relationship they go through most stuff when they are serving their clients. So there was resentment kind of a thing. So you realize you could be, oh, I don't know why that turned pale. You could be able to investigate and be able to give diagnosis for the right problem. And once you know what the issue is now, this is where the initiative development starts. You have to use such a way to plan for that initiative after you understand what the problem is, you've done fact finding and collected data. Then what do we need to do? Yes, I think here we need to enhance stakeholder relationship, both internally, externally. So how do we build that solution? You start designing that solution. And that solution is in part of strategy and initiatives that all forms the process of change. You implement it, then you assess it. I mean, that's what this strategy is all about. Evaluation is critical because you know whether you met it, what threshold, and I mean, did you hit your outcome? And you can also see some other indicators. Now, so what I was talking about is this kind of a structure, because organization development initiative are very structured and intentional. I keep on saying that. So there's stage number one, stage number two, you have to diagnose, understand it. And here there are some tools that I'll show you that I commonly use, for example, but are also common in any initiative. I just wanted to emphasize on stage number three, which is leadership capacity, okay? And this depends on what level of initiative that you're implementing. For example, if you are just implementing a process of making sure people report early, for example, in your department, then you need also your mkubwa to understand and buy into what you're doing, okay? Because they could be the one who are coming late, and then, of course, they say leadership models everything. So you will not succeed. But when you let them know, they'll buy into the process. Okay? Sometimes it's not about support. Some other times it's about capacity for them to actually do it. There are some initiatives that also require certain skills and capacity, especially if it's an organization development initiative, because it involves change and change. Does every leader, manager, supervisor has the capacity to manage change? I'm not sure. If they are, just follow the process. If they're not, you may want to do that capacity. So it's critical to think about leadership. And this is why we say in change and change management, the rate at which change fails is because of lack of buy-in or resistance, especially from the leadership or whoever you report to. Because if they do not buy it, it quickly gets overruled very fast because they won't support it. And number two, staff will just observe and know any project here, Damaris, even our boss, Ayuko, and you doomed like that. So it's very critical to actually get support and buy-in. There are strategies to be able to get that up and running. The rest, I think I've mentioned that. So when you look at diagnosis, I think I've explained that. It's inquiring. There are many tools. You move to actioning. Leadership is what I've explained. Intervention is where now you start now implementing that initiative with your team. And this it's within a certain plan you develop after at the inquiry level. And then you evaluate. Of course, you're monitoring the process all through. And these 5 steps explains what happens. I think I mentioned exactly here. This is the whole story. Right? So are we together before I drop off? If we are together, say yes, kindly. Hello, am I talking to myself?
You're not. I can see thumbs up here.
Rosemary. Rosemary, are you there? Yes, Rebecca is saying yes. Okay, Rosemary, yes. So that's organization development in terms of structure and process. Okay. I think I've mentioned a bit about where it links with business, but let me say this. When we are practicing organization development, or you want to do anything that improves efficiency or effectiveness, there is this understanding that we must have at the end of the day. What will tell that there is efficiency and effectiveness in this initiative that I do? It could be common one like team building, for example. It could be also, job enlargement for my team or some specified. It could be also a review of a certain policy or whatever it is. What will make sure that we say it's effective or enhancing effectiveness or efficiency? Because that's the bottom line about organization. And for me and what I've learned over the years, you must work with certain indicators or metrics that will quickly tell that we are moving and we're moving to the right direction. And this is what anybody else from you upwards will be looking at, including your fellow colleagues as well. So when we're doing any initiative, change or change management related initiatives, there are some metrics that have to be talking to all the key elements we need for us to drive efficient organization, efficient department, efficient team, and all that. And I'll tell you, I'm sure there are many metrics that we know. For example, for us to tell that our team is performing very well, what metrics must we see them moving positively from an HR perspective, those who are here in HR? What metrics will we definitely see for, say, to say, I think the department in IT is really performing? What are some of the metrics you see? Nangoja tu hapa kwa chat. What indicators will tell you that there is actually productivity, for example? Are you keying in or you're keying in a long thing? Targets are met. Yes, for example, if you had KPIs and you've seen thresholds of target being met, then you can say, yes, I think in our team about 80% we are meeting our target. That is a key indicator, meeting of targets. Yeah, it is the same, is not different, because all this has to plug into all the strategy, culture, and everything to get us to the success that you're looking for the business organizations. Increase satisfaction level, exactly, level of satisfaction. When we do the satisfaction survey for employees, there's a rate we give there. And we benchmark it within the industry, and then we can say, actually, we are doing very well in terms of satisfaction, and that is a good metric. These things are not linked to any initiative of change or organization development you do as an officer, as a staff, as a manager, even as just a business, as an employee as well. Okay. So if you want to be successful in driving initiatives that are development oriented, advancing oriented, bringing effective and efficiency, then you have to work with indicators. And these indicators, okay, these indicators can be many. I just put some here. So there's retention rate, and those are the indicators we see all the time for those who do performance management in the dashboard. We'll see productivity of staff, we'll see profitability. Kwanza, this one is very critical. If you're not meeting the bottom lines and we're not making some extra, then we aren't doing very well. That is at corporate level. There's turnover rate, there's absenteeism. We must be addressing something that we should be able to measure. And that's the unique thing about organization development. So if I come in and say we need a culture transformation, we've done a culture audit, for example, and this culture audit, it shows that there is ineffective communication, for example. There's COCTA. Information is not going to the top, or it is not coming down to bottom here in the structure. Then that initiative we put to be able to develop effective communication for the organization must be able to actually show effectiveness. And these are the metrics that we need to put there. For example, are we getting information timely? People must be saying 80%. It comes timely. It's transparent. It is, if it is open, for example. So these are metrics that are critical. You need to think metrics for business success, depending on whatever it is that your initiative you're driving. So if I were to ask you which metric do you think impacts the most in your organization, and look at this one, sometimes I get here people never leave. In other words, we have a very high retention rate. Is it a good or a bad thing? You guys, what do you think? Is having a low retention a good thing or a bad thing? Turnover rate, it's very high. In fact, this is one of the things alarming for leadership to call for any OD initiative or expert to come and help them, like that. Net promoter scores is very critical internally and externally, depending on what segment of population you are assessing. Are we recommending people to come to the organization? If it is towards zero, then there's a problem. That means this place is not good and conducive, it's becoming toxic or something. Those metrics are very critical for you to say your OD initiative is successful. Therefore, when we look at, what impressed there for org success or OD, there are some things that you want to look into. For example, if you want to be an organization development expert, I stopped here. I don't know what has happened. My screen has disappeared. Revenue growth, that's also a very good indicator as well. Let me bring this one back up here. So there are some elements that really necessitates the importance for you as a manager, you as a leader, you as a department, you as a business, whether it's small or big, or as an organization, to always embed organizational development processes for you to actually accelerate your growth and success. I mean, I still don't see how an institution can survive without actually having to change something. Because changing anything, any process is an audit process. Yes? So if you aren't changing, then, I mean, it's obvious you're dying. And therefore, it becomes very important to think OD when we are actually thinking about our growth for business or our growth for our institutions. Because it's the way we achieve strategy, efficiency in execution. Okay. And when I say achieve strategy execution, I'm just looking at this. I'm about to reduce it. I don't know what's happening when I put the slide share there. So when you look at the effect of organization development and being able to achieve strategy, I think I have dealt with that a little bit more. But let me just explain a little bit about how OD drives this. First of all, we said OD focuses more on those two elements, effectiveness and efficiency. And for us to say we are effective, then we must be delivering success. So when it comes to org strategy, there's something commonly I hear or we know called gap between strategy formulation and execution of that strategy. Okay? We're good at formulating it. Execution is where we fail. In fact, I think the crafted statement that culture is strategy for breakfast is next that's the nexus of it. So execution remains a challenge in many organizations or institutions or businesses. And therefore, organizational development connects strategy intent with ground realities. Yani, what is on ground, which we said is org climate and org culture. And then, therefore, as an OD practitioner or a leader as yourself, when you go through the OD process where you analyze, for example, capabilities needed to deliver on the strategy, you then can develop people or process initiatives to close on that gap. Then you can say OD, it's kind of ensuring these various initiatives and you meeting the needs of stakeholders and aligning all that to shared strategic goal that you have. Because without rethinking this gap and trying to find an intervention, which is an OD process, will be leading us to a failure. So it unlocks organizing development initiative and process is what we use to unlock that alignment for strategy, people, culture, and delivery process for our strategic plans or strategic thrust that we have. Enhancing leadership, of course, is very critical because you can't have either of this without empowered leadership with intention, and that has gone into it. So leadership plays a pivotal role in driving change, culture, and also being able to reward people for the success of churning the targets that they're achieving. If you have a team that's achieving and there's no reward structure that is being implemented fairly, then there will be a problem in the short run. So OD strengthens leadership capabilities, again, through assessing, training, coaching, and exposing your leadership team to, strategies, methodologies of being effective as a leader. And, to nurture leadership, you have to articulate, they have to articulate the vision or the model that we need because they communicate that to the people. So they need the capacity to be able to do that. Okay, so there is also facilitate org culture change. That is my playground to transform corporate culture and all the climate that we spoke about. And that is very critical. You have to audit. Again, we go back, analyze, gather facts, develop the strategy for change management, drive the initiative through intervention, implementation, assess, evaluate, and all that process of audit. Very critical. And that way you maintain a climate that is thriving, you maintain a culture that is enabling, and also that is forward-looking for staff come and contribute into it. And that becomes easy to sustain the success for your team, organization, and so on and so on. There is also development of internal capability. And when you talk about internal capability, can be now or futuristic. Because most plans are not 1 year unless you just work with 1 year. I've seen that in SMEs. But others have 2 year, 3 year, 5 year kind of plans for delivery. And therefore, you need to think internal capacity building for delivery of that 5 year or 3 year strategy. So where do you start? When we are going to, I'm working with an institution, transforming their culture to be able to unlock or drive the strategy, which is actually tagged from Kenya to Africa. They're opening branches in the next 3 years across Central and West Africa. And that is completely different dynamism when you think about it. That means they have to build capacity, break some silos, and be able to think, African open-mindedness and the different cultures we have within Africa. And therefore, this capacity becomes very intentional, in fact, in developing this for being able to drive and move beyond borders of Kenya, our culture, our way of doing things, to actually think now Tanzania way of doing things, Ugandan way of doing things, their culture and all that. And therefore, with metrics that you want to see moving forward in the first, second year, then we can be able to track and say we're actually building the right capacity to lead us to Africa in the next 3 years. There's also increased employee engagement. This is very critical because if you're having your team and it's not meaningfully engaged, but someone is engaged, there's a problem. Because engagement means they are committed, they understand the goals and committed, and they're actually delivering them within the climate and culture that you created. That must be enabling as well. There's a whole lot of assignment I know for leaders and promote continuous improvement. This a bit natural for OD because that's embedded in organization development. It's about moving from one phase of growth to the next through change and maintaining that change to effectiveness and efficiency. So when you think about, do we have a reason actually to embrace organization development as a practice? 100%. I mean, these reasons can be more than just the ones I've listed here. Because if you want to raise all the indicators that you talk about, friendliness, good, less minimum rate of absenteeism, and all those things you spoke about up there, then there has to be an initiative actually making people move from that point they are to the point B they are by managing the how in between there. Okay, so that is more of reasons enough, and I'm sure if I had time I could actually listen and hear some reasons as well. So, I mean, I've spoken about the process and why and the strategy for OD. I mean, my practice in culture and all that. But there are tools that can help you do this thing very easily. I'm sure when you look at the levels, analysis, investigation, diagnosis, you will need some tools to be able to analyze, get data, and gather data, analyze, and all that. And those are tools that you can find. I'm sure most of you have done that. If you've done any employee survey, you must have had a questionnaire, you must have had a focus group. You also must have a, kind of employee feedback mechanism. And those are tools. The diagnostic part is you use diagnostic tools. And that a little bit, I find it very common, very much known. And there's nothing wrong with using those ones as long as you're working. When it comes to model of organizing development initiatives, I told you it's intentional because it follows a scientific kind of approach, which is very objective. And therefore, there are models that are change management based. So I can give you on homework, you go search, those who don't still know enough of the models for change management processes, you will get over 8 or 13 of them. But the commonly used one is the ADKAR model. It's analysis, design, knowledge, awareness. And it's a process that is built for managing change by driving outcomes that are within this. This is an acronym, yes? You analyze, you design, you drive knowledge and awareness for people to change. And when you can't change if you don't have the knowledge of change or the knowledge you need to change. Then the awareness about the change and all that. So it's a process called the ADCOM model. It's very common. We use it as well in Blue Concepts Africa. There's McKinsey 7S. There is Porter Common 8 levels of change management. You can look it very easily in what you call the iceberg is melting. My iceberg is melting. It's very well outlined. My iceberg is melting. Very good analogy. We've borrowed a lot. In our model of culture change transformation, again from Porter. Our model is not specific to any particular model that is outside there, but it's very adoptive because of the nature of African landscape. When it comes to techniques, and here is where now the rubber meets the road, because this is where you either fail or you succeed. Because it's easy to get the models, it's easy to get the tools, but techniques is where issues become really big. So how do you deliver successfully? What technique or tactic do you use? Of course, we say change management is a no-brainer. It must be there, okay? So will you assess the entire organization, your team? Will you sample? What design will you use? So organization assessments have to be there. Is you to know what tact works for this scenario. And I think that's where you listen and know what gives you the validity of being able to say, yes, this is a problem. There's process analysis. Of course, when you build initiatives, the strategy for change, you need to train people, you have workshops, you have all those learning, techniques also that comes on board. There is also coaching and many other techniques. The techniques are very many and they're very context-based to say the least. So it's the only principle I can say here that can tell you use the right technique is if it is completely giving you over 80% legitimacy that actually this problem is what the problem is, meaning you listen to the right people and they got you the right feedback and you did the right analysis, okay? So you'll know this one, I'm not going to evaluate, procurement department, actually going to evaluate all shared services, then your legitimacy level is at what point. So that's as far as to these ones a little bit broad, like models are really many. Most bodies will custom make because like we spoke about character, the climate of an institution is personality. Organizations have different personalities, so you borrow very keenly from these techniques and models as well. Now, moving on to just wind up, and I know I've overstepped my time. Is that true, Esther?
Yeah, but you can wind up. You can wind up. It's 8:30.
So I can be able to actually share the screen on my conclusion. And then I don't know, here 1 or 2 questions. So when you look at becoming an effective OD, for me, it has been a journey, first of all. Like I said, I started in HR. No, actually started in learning and development before I came into HR. A very interesting journey there because sometimes you couldn't in those 14 years ago, 17 years ago, actually tell people, like the way you say, I'm a human resource professional. There was no quite known title for people who would do organization development. So people would go, then what's that? Right? So it has evolved because now it's actually a very common kind of needed input for institutions. So it is going to be a journey for you if you haven't practiced driving effective initiatives for your teams or your organization. But at least you have the information on where to start. But it's very clear on the OD strategy. You follow that plan, you will always be able to get something out that is measurable and articulated. So OD, is it a catalyst for business or for organization success? I think I've demonstrated that. There's a lot we can get from being able to drive initiatives that are driving these metrics that I spoke about. Okay. If those metrics are looking up, then you are doing a good job. Okay. Will they look up all the time? Definitely, there are issues that come in change, depending on some risks or mitigations that you didn't do. Because like any plan we have for any project, we'll have also some challenges. The issue is how quickly do you pick up and do the mitigation? Incidentally, for any change management process, including these OD initiatives for culture and all the management initiatives, you will need a risk mitigation plan also. So therefore, for business, of course, for you to let people and have people that are actually driving this institution, like we saw the roots are very strong and they're feeding the trunk to the leaves, to the fruits, then you cannot achieve that without a very intentional process and strategy on how you develop your organization through these initiatives. Okay, for sustainable growth, for leadership, for successful change management, whether you want to build your team, whether you want to actually inject some technological change. Somewhere I find a lot of labs. People cannot be left behind, and where there are people, it is always a change management. Okay, so adoptive research in driving all the initiatives. I mean, all the initiatives you drive, if you put and inject that process, you'll be able to see success very fast. Okay, like I've always seen, and I've met thresholds within the initiatives that which are org-wide. Org-wide means it's touching all the departments, all the branches. Okay, so it's about ensuring long-term success by shaping the culture. So I want to close by saying the way we see change is inevitable. It's even coming fast and furious. Growth is also intentional. Everything that brings growth is a challenge. If you don't want to check the challenge, then it's still intentional. So to thrive at personal level, become excellence, whether you want to drive your team, your KPIs, or your task, being able to brand yourself or outshine in the way you deliver your results, then we must not just manage change, but master it. In other words, you need this kind of skill for you to be able to do something that is successful and is going to feed the results that is anticipated. And there's no best way known in research to build a brand that is, number one, to be a performer. If you're a performer, everybody will, it is called a legitimate power. Yeah, that you have a certain expert, so you actually get the power, and that brands you very well. Being able to drive change management, align success, culture, strategy towards shared visions is one of the skills that is highly looked for in any organization. And you can ask Esther. I don't know whether she agrees on that. But on that note, I want to say bingo and thank you very much. Esther, over to you.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Damaris.
Thanks
Thank you
as
very
well.
much. Yeah, thank you very much. That was a whole class. A whole class, and I'm sure the rest of the people agree to that. I don't know whether there's any burning question because of time. I see we have gone way beyond, but it was worth it. I don't know if
Yes.
there's any burning question. Then you can tell us about the upcoming conference. Then we can possibly
Yes.
close. Yes, anyone with Burning question. I see we are 12 now in the room. I know it's time for family.
Okay.
Yes, if
Time
there's
for cooking.
yes, if there's none, then please go ahead and talk to us about the conference as we close.
I would say very fast, like the way we say the relevance of leadership in driving success. I mean, most of us probably are leaders. I've seen some people here. I mean, for us to be able to succeed, we must really have a certain set of skills that outsmart the rest or makes us just more effective in how we lead, and everybody is looking for that. So the LAC workshop is inspired by 3 things: leadership, accountability, and culture, as key pillars for not just branding yourself as irresistible kind of a person, because these are a set of very rare skills that are found very rare in one person, in many institutional leaders. And those people who have them, you will know them. Even at the national level, they are very quite known. And this is a workshop that just doesn't focus on just the CEO only, but is asking ourselves, what can the CEO actually pass to the rest of the leadership, people who are next online? So we bring all this kind of set of leaders in the one room, be able to learn from experience of what did make these people as remarkable as they are in one room, and tell us and learn how we can become more robust in the way we lead, and impactful. How we can drive accountability, one of the lacking elements in teams for them to actually deliver. And how can we figure out this thing we've been talking about today, culture and org development process. And it is quite insightful. It has very key snippets right there, because we focus on amplifying leadership, amplifying accountability, amplifying as well as how we build a culture. The how we build the culture is quite a big challenge for many people, even in executives. And that is where you get it in LAC, in practice, and also in what has worked in terms of models. And there's a lot of networking as well. If you come on board, definitely you meet many people there, you connect with, that can mentor you, and who knows, can help you level up in your career. So you're most welcome, those who want to join. And if you want a discount, definitely for the sake of conversations by Esther, definitely for that being present, you will get a big discount. Just mention that this session. Thank you, Esther.
Wow. Thank you. Thanks, Damaris.
Yes.
Thank you for that. So we see you in Mombasa.
Yes, in Mombasa, definitely Apo Pwani. It's where we go swimming. I don't know. We like being in Mombasa.
Oh, it's refreshing. It's a good place to be. It's a good place to be. So Rebecca and the rest, Jocelyn, let's see you there. Thank you very much. Thank you, Damaris, for your time, and thank you for being a resource.
Yes.
You're one person that I trust with content and quality. Asanteni sana. Let me say good night for now. Been wondering who's that girl on the picture. Now I can relay the picture to someone. Surely no, but see you in Mombasa now, but see you in Mombasa and see you next week.
I like the way you're saying that girl. No, but
yeah, I know, right? Next week we host Jane Mutisia on performance management. So we'll see you right here. Asante sana, Damaris. Thank you everyone. Good night and God bless you. Bye-bye.
God bless you, everybody.